Good morning. My name is Kirsten Levitt, and I'm delighted to be your worship host today. We're grateful to have you all here with us today in person and on Zoom. For the safety of all of us, we ask that you remain masked during the service. And although you will be masked, we will be singing hymns this morning. We have a couple of beautiful hymns for us to sing together. We will be having a coffee and conversation time after the service upstairs here in the sanctuary, and you're all invited to stay and mask as you feel comfortable. This morning, we extend a special note of gratitude to Julia Beatty for her beautiful music. Thank you so much for enriching our services with beautiful pieces that make me feel so sentimental. And of course, a grand welcome back to Reverend Amy McMahan, who has been with us in the pulpit about once a month this year. Today's sermon is all about love. Do you see my shirt? It says love is an action word. Okay, and now I invite everyone to breathe deeply, come into the room, be present, be focused, be at peace. In the words of the Reverend Kathleen McTeague, we come together this morning to remind one another to rest for a moment on the forming edge of our lives, to resist the headlong tumble into the next moment until we claim for ourselves awareness and gratitude, taking the time to look into one another's faces and see communion. This house of laughter and silence, memory and hope is hallowed by our presence together. Let us take time for quiet reflection as we listen to this morning's prelude. And now as Tara lights the chalice, please join me in reading the words that are printed in your order of worship. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. And Amy has a daily reading for us.
Good morning. So I'm going to read from A Year of Forgiveness, which is a companion book for the Course of Miracles. And today's daily lesson, there's 365, is lesson 78. Let miracles replace all grievances. You are blessed beings indeed. I am the one you know as Jesus. It is hard for you to believe those beings you resent, hate, or find annoying are your saviors, but indeed they are. It is through them and through your forgiveness of them that you ease and minimize the separation, loneliness, and disconnection you feel. The great fear of the ego mind, which you get into forgiveness practice, is that you will have to hang out with all these people. We want you to understand that it is not necessarily the case, although in some instances, your forgiveness practice allows you to spend time with them again, but it is not necessary. We work with the mind here, and it is important for you to understand that your grievances disrupt the frequency of your mind. It is your mind that generates and projects everything you experience. Your grievances interfere with the perfect functioning of your mind, and you suffer because your mind is set to connect with source at the frequency of love. When you have a grievance that is unloving, you block intentionally, even though at times it feels involuntary. You choose to block love, so you feel the pain of suffering that you, of course, wrongly attribute to their poor behavior. It is your judgments and your grievances that cause you to suffer. When you become willing to give up your grievances, you see that you stop suffering. You have an epiphany where you realize that it is not them that are the problem, but your beliefs about them. Once you have done your forgiveness practice with a being, you find it no longer pops up in your mind and causes you suffering. You have changed, and you reap the rewards of forgiveness practice. Understand that peace lies behind every grievance you have. Access to increased health and knowledge lies behind every grievance that you have. Is it worth nurturing and feeding these grievances? Is it worth talking about people and gossiping behind their backs? It is you who suffers the loss of the miracle when you do that. It is something for you to think about. I am the one you know as Jesus, and we will see you again tomorrow.
And now let us join in song. Please rise in body or spirit as you're able to join in singing hymn number 318, We Would Be One. We would be one as now we join in singing our hymn of love to pledge ourselves anew to that high cause of greater understanding of who we are and what in us is true. We would be one in living for each other, to show to all a new community. We would be one in building for tomorrow, a nobler world than we have known today. We would be one in searching for that meaning which binds our hearts and points us on a way. As one we pledge ourselves to greater service, with love and justice strive. Thank you. And now if you'll join me in reading our congregational covenant, which is printed in your order of worship. In this house, we covenant with one another to create a community built on a foundation of love, to work together to promote equality, justice, and peace, accepting responsibility for our individual acts, to stand on the side of love, embracing the liberation of oppressed minorities and working to end discrimination and unjust privilege, to communicate with kindness and support, and to serve with compassion and commitment, to listen respectfully and value our diversity as a source of our collective strength, to learn and grow together, generously sharing our time, talents, and treasures, to celebrate the joys of discovery from the wonder of youth to the wisdom of age, to openly share our laughter and our tears, showing reverence for the divine in all that is. Each week in our church, we take up an offering, which gives us an opportunity to exercise the generosity of spirit that supports All Souls and its many ministries. We see this act of giving, of growing more generous in our hearts and in our actions, as essential to our spiritual well-being. We will now receive this morning's offering. Individually and together, we are building a world filled with peace and justice, love and joy. Each one of you, by your commitment of time, talent, and treasure, helps to make this grand vision real. So this morning, I give a very warm welcome to Reverend Amy McMahan, who's returning to our pulpit this morning to talk about love.
Good morning. Good morning. There are so many things we can say about love, and I know we just had Valentine's Day, and many of us, I hope, got a Valentine or two. But I wanted to stand up here as a salesperson today and sell you on this idea that we need more love, not less. That we could reprogram our consciousness together today collectively to be a little more loving in the ways that we are holding ourselves and each other and going out from this room into the world after this Sunday service. Now, my teacher, the Reverend Dr. Iyanla Vanzant, likes to talk about spiritual warriorship, and that as warriors, we walk the earth. standing on principles, particularly love, which is, to have compassion, to see the best in one another, to practice those 4 agreements, knowing that everybody else is doing their best, we're doing our best. And also to go within, to do a inventory. How are we being? How are we acting? How are we holding ourselves? How are we thinking? And I think, when I was meditating on this, I thought about how many times somebody had said, I love you to me, and then done something that I just didn't enjoy or didn't feel good. And I'm sure that there are people who feel the same way about me. And I think that is this particularly interesting aspect of being a human being, that we can say, I love you, and hear I love you, but feel like, growing up as a gay person, the church preached a gospel of love, but not for gay people, right? So I think love gets very confusing for us as humans, and we're always trying to return to a sense of, what does it mean to love? So I'm going to talk about it as a feeling and as a principle and as our politics. Like, what are the politics of love? So as a feeling, I think we can all think about somebody we love, a place we love. I love Greenfield. Things. I love that Pema Chodron says that whatever opens your heart, even if it's tortilla chips, think about that. So if we all right now think about someone or a place or a thing that we love, the room softens, our hearts open a little, and that's the feeling, and it's a beautiful thing. It's an energy, it's an invitation. And I think we all want more of that. But as a principle in the Course of Miracles, love is who we really are. It's where we come from at birth, and it's where we return to at death. And the Course also teaches that we are all one, that we are united in love. So in that moment when we can all open our hearts a little bit, we are one. There is no separation. So love is actually the melting of the separation between all human beings. We can feel the commonality. And most of us have had this experience of being born into this physical world that is replete with unloving conditions. I think we've all seen and experienced poverty, violence. There's, war and atrocities, prejudice. I don't think we have to spend too much time thinking about the unloving things we've seen and experienced. And the Course of Miracles teaches that this is insanity. It's unreal, and it's a nightmare, because what is real is love. That's what's real. That's what's enduring. And everything we do to return to that love is an act of love. And when we embody love, like Jesus Christ, standing in the truth of our highest, most holy selves, we're in the practice of love. So I'm here today to sell you on this practice of love and the practical application of the principle to our consciousness. Now, the Course of Miracles teaches that the opposite of love is fear. And so I think we've all had that experience of feeling just expansive and love in our hearts and feeling really good. And then that thought comes, what if I can't pay my rent this month? I don't know about you guys, but sometimes the fear that comes out of nowhere into my consciousness is surprising. And it feels like that game Chutes and Ladders. You're at that top place. You're just about to get to the end. And then you just come down that chute and you got to start back up. And so I think mastering the gap between the way that we can stand between fear and love is a part of the mastery that we're all called to as spiritual warriors. And so what I noticed about myself as I was preparing for the sermon is how some of the ways fear shows up in my life is a little sneaky. It's almost like diet fear or fear light. I'll find myself on social media comparing myself to other people. And that's not love. That's fear. Like fear that somebody else has something that I want or should have. There's the othering. Like when I start thinking about other people, that's when that separation comes in. And I often, other people on my way to there'll be a little resentment or some blame there. And that's also fear. It's not loving. I found myself doing some terribilizing too, like, what if this happens? And what if that happens? And what if that person doesn't like me? This fear. And then meditating on the bad. I don't know about you guys, but my parents had some pretty intense experiences with starvation and, some fear with the Cold War. And we grew up with these drills in elementary school, like hiding underneath the desks in case the nuclear war happened. And so I thought so much about how we get an education as children around, if we meditate on the worst thing that could happen, maybe it won't happen. That is really just so unloving in our consciousness to go forward thinking about worst case scenarios. So what I found myself doing recently is just saying cancel when it shows up. Like, I'm doing some diversity and inclusion and equity work in my life. And I'm finding there's a really delicate balance between going forward and saying, hey, we need to advocate for change, but also not othering people and demonizing them as I am in spiritual warriorship and asking for change. So I think that's a balance of saying, hey, I see that there's a problem here, but I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm not going to meditate on it. And I'm not going to blame other people for it and sit there in judgment. I think impatience for me is a way that fear shows up. So let's continue to practice that. I'm feeling really evolved until I get into my car. And it takes me 10 minutes to get from here to the Rotary, because every single person who can cross a crosswalk, every single Buick that's going 5 miles will get in front of me. And I will find myself tempted to be in impatience. That's fear. So again, we bless those people in front of us. We bless that person who pulls in front of us, that person who's walking very slowly on the crosswalk as we're in a hurry. They are that savior because we're releasing those grievances, the savior that invites us to say, bless that person. Let me take this moment to take a breath and be more patient and compassionate in my life. And so when I think about how my parents, the baby boomers, they, had the oil crisis and the nuclear stuff with the Russians and the banking crisis in the 80s. My parents were always freaking out about their mortgage rates. My act of love today is to say, thank you. I know that you did your best, but you taught me that being scared and staying scared was the best way to protect myself. And I am no longer willing to live in a fear-based life. I am safe. I am whole. I am enough. And I am unafraid of what is to come. And I wanted to invite you to join me to say that today. I am unafraid of what is to come, because I find also one way that we all will hold fear and support one another in not being in love consciousness is to meditate on climate crisis, or the fact that, the political system and the divide in our country. It's very easy for us, especially if the news channels are on, to get into a fear-based place and support one another in the complaining and the fear. So let us be unafraid of what is to come. Let us stand on the principle of love and faith and say, I trust that the universe is going to unfold exactly. The events will unfold exactly as they should for my highest and greatest outcome. And in the 4 agreements, we say we're going to be impeccable with our word. That means not just in our speaking, it's in the words we hold in consciousness. And so I wanted to talk a little bit this morning as well about the way that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King embodied love and was also a political force, a spiritual warrior. When I think about how he grew up in this country with the lynchings and the beatings and the economic and social subjugation of his family, his community, and still chose to forgive, to be compassionate, to pray for people who were so hateful. When I think about the Americans who desegregated our schools, who went forth on that bridge in Selma, I am so humbled to consider how you can hold love in your consciousness and still fight for what you think is right. You can still pray for people that you don't agree with, who may even wish death upon you. That you know that it is your job to help advance this country in love consciousness, and that you are willing to die for that. That to me embodies what we're talking about here today. What I'm trying to sell you today is this idea that we're going to walk out of this room, be more loving in our thoughts, and also see how that blossoms in our community. I'm shooting for 51%, the majority of my time in my thoughts, to be stopping myself in a temptation and just being more forgiving, compassionate, blessing, and saying, I don't know what anything's for. How could I think about this person and myself doing their best? So I love this quote from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. That is why right, temporarily defeated, is stronger than evil triumphant. So we don't remember the name of that sheriff on Selma Bridge. We remember the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and the people who put on their Sunday best and said, no matter what you think of us, we will stand here in our dignity, fighting for our rights in a love consciousness. Man must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. I think about how somebody could say that faced with the conditions of the 50s and 60s in the South, the Jim Crow South. And if those members, those Americans could do the work that they did, then I think we can also consider how we can be in this community doing this work, being more in love with ourselves and each other. And so I leave you today with this quote from Marianne Williamson. Love is what we were born with. Fear is what we have learned here. The spiritual journey is the relinquishment or unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love back into our hearts. Love is the essential existential food. It is our ultimate reality and our purpose on earth. To be consciously aware of it, to experience love in ourselves and others, is the meaning of life. So join me today in pledging to just up that love consciousness, to say that all of us, we need more love, not less. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. So I found a couple places where Amy asked us to do something, and I'm going to ask you to do it a little deeper. Sure. How's that, better? Usually it's nobody complains that I'm too soft. Okay, so the first thing that Amy invited us to do was to think of a person who we love. I'm going to ask you to think about a series of people that you love. We just take 60 seconds and do it. So in whatever way you feel most comfortable, dig in and think about those people that you love. And as you come to the conclusion of thinking of those people, you're not going to stop actually. I want you to take a nice deep cleansing breath, which was another thing that Amy asked us to do, is take a deep breath and stop. And not lean into fear or some other thought that takes you out of love consciousness. And now I want you all to embrace the concept that the love that you feel for those people close to you is also a love that you can expand out infinitely. And take another good deep breath. I love the reminder to make the majority of your thoughts about love and love consciousness, and to eschew fear by replacing it with love. Will you rise in body or spirit and sing Surprised by Joy, number 410? Surprised by joy, no song can tell, no thought can come, as here we stand to celebrate eternal love, to reach for one another's hand. Beyond all other gifts is this best gift alone to mortals given, the love of parent, lover, friend. Our times our hearts to bless again. Faith, hope, and love here come alive. Life's deepest treasure is made known when in forgiving, giving all inseparably two are as one. Now is the time in our service for sharing of joys and sorrows. If you have a sorrow that needs the help of this community to carry it, or a joy so great that you must share it, now is the time. You may share with the congregation. A microphone will be brought to you. It's on. Or you can light candles in this in over there in that side, on that side of the sanctuary. If you're sharing with the congregation, please note it's not a time for personal or political announcements. We'll share those while we're having our coffee together and our conversation. The purpose of this time is to really hold what's deep or joyous in us. And a great joy that we have today is to have visitors among us. And during this time, if you'd like to introduce yourself, we'd love to warmly welcome you here. This is not a have to, but we just really want to make sure that you feel welcome. So now it's time for joys and sorrows.
Hi, my name is Johl Kennedy. Cindy and I have recently moved to Greenfield, and we're very happy to be here and to find such a lovely community of people right here in downtown. And I think I can speak for Cindy to say that we've both been pretty deeply moved by the expressions of love, forgiveness, the atmosphere, goodness that's here. So we are deeply appreciative. Well, maybe Cindy will say something, I don't know. But I'm just speaking myself and say, I love you guys. Thankfully you're here.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Hi, I'm Cindy, and I just came in. Can you, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah, closer to your mask. It's hard.
There could be perfect sentiments in this challenge. Because the past few years have been so challenging in our lives, and I felt like my light was out and I needed help to have it rekindled, and that's why I came to the Iyanla community, and I was seeking like-minded and loving people to be among and support me back to having love to give out. So, thank you.
Welcome, Cindy.
Morning, my name is Russ. Please let it go. I'm feeling a lot of joy. The story I wrote about a little Greenfield history was published in the Recorder yesterday. And the feedback I got from some friends of mine around here after I gave my first draft to read, they really helped to make it so much better. And you know, it's not the most important story, but still, they cared enough. They cared enough about me and I knew that I wanted to do something good. That just feels priceless to me. To share. Thank you.
If anybody's wondering, Russ wrote the article about the Pierce Bridge naming, or what it's all about.
Hi, good morning, church. My name's Annie. Hey, let's light a candle of joy for the maple syrup houses. I went there yesterday for pancakes and eggs. So here's the maple syrup. A candle of both joy and sorrow. It would be amiss if I didn't say light a candle for John Preston. Just the most wonderful guy. He's been here for years, and his wife, Mary Ellen Preston, John, gradually just graduated, sitting in a beautiful chair and saying he didn't want anything to eat. He was just feeling a little sleepy, and away he went. What a beautiful thing. So thank you.
Morning, I'm Rob. Thank you, Amy, just to being in the 51%. Would you light a candle, please, of concern for my youngest sister? For reasons I don't understand, she's in a path of separation. And also a candle of hope for a dear member of our housing community who's been in the mental health section of the Holyoke Hospital, getting electric shock treatment, and finally starting to come back to the land of the living. So pray you'll get there and be able to rejoice. And lastly, a candle of joy for my best friends, alma mater, Verily Dickinson, number 16 seed, knock off the number 1 seed Purdue. May March Madness have its true meaning.
Yes, I'd like to light a candle of joy for my daughter, Essie Chambers. She's coming up to Greenfield this week, and on Friday, she's going to be showing the film that she produced, Descendant, to the student body at Greenfield High School. On Saturday, she's going to be at the Garden Theater, or if you haven't seen her film, The Descendant, you can go and see her film, Descendant, and then hear her talk about the making of the film. So I'm excited about that, and that's a joy for sure.
So I want to add my sentiments about graduating into eternity. It was with great sadness that about a week and a half ago, I found out that Topher Christopher Woods passed away. And just knowing that his light is not in the world, but still resides in those whom he touched here and his family and many different communities means something. Kate's got one.
I just learned this morning that my friend Rob, her partner Robin, passed away on Friday. In her arms, she was ill for a long time. It was a very loving sounding thing, but just to light a candle for both of them, Rob and Robin. Thanks.
And I'd love a candle to be lit for being home. I had a wonderful trip to Puerto Rico with Jim, but it's really nice to be home.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, I'm Sandra. And I personally really want to light a candle for Attorney General Bragg in New York City and for what our country is going to face this week in terms of the rule of law and whether it applies to everyone or not. And it's just going to be another one of those encounters. And I appreciate so much the message this morning about Martin Luther King, just facing times like this with love and forgiveness and with the importance of law. And I just bow to the bravery of the people who are going to carry through on the law. And I pray for people's sanity and for the future of our democracy.
Mm-hmm.
So my name is Pam, and I want to bring into the church that the community itself is responding to things that with love. And one is St. Andrews and St. James and Andrews, which is doing a whole series on climate change. And today at noon, the youth speak up. So it's an interfaith opportunity for support, for going to hear what these well-chosen young people have to say. And that is moving in a positive direction, believe me. And that's not the only thing. We have 100 different ways of expressing them in our community. And even today, from 1 to 4 is the seed swap at Just Roots. And Just Roots itself is a whole expression of love. The whole creation of Just Roots. So there's just 100 different ways that we're working on things. Myself, I'm like working on outreach to UU churches across the state on how to build mini forests that sequester carbon. And that is a very positive, proactive response to the challenge without denial of climate change and equity.
Mm.
I'd like to light a candle for those folks on Zoom. I just want to welcome them with my whole heart.
Thank you. So I invite you into a time of silent reflection, knowing that you are enough to hold everything that was spoken and unspoken, the concern and the sorrow, the joy and the laughter. Now, will you share your energy? You can do that by lifting your hands, and you'll feel your palms change as we share this prayer. Spirit of community in which we share and find strength and common purpose, we turn our hearts to those beloveds who have crossed into eternity, John and Robin and our beloved Topher. We send loving thoughts to those who are seeking space and know that our familial ties will always bind us. We are concerned, does the law apply to all? Will there be equity and equality in our world? We rejoice in the sharing and swapping of ideas and seeds for growth and transformation. We rejoice in new neighbors and for all of our ability to survive challenges with humanness and resilience, laughter and tears. We rejoice in positive feedback from people who help us evolve and grow and become a better version of ourselves. And for the sweet sap that flows from Mother Nature and goes all over our breakfast. For March Madness and all that comes from that. For Essie, spreading her word, her spirit, her light, and her film to educate all. For Rob, who survives. For counting on our young voices and our community responding to climate change by inviting cross-cultural, interfaith, and multi-voice generational conversations. For all of this and so much more, we hold these joys, concerns, and sorrows in our hearts and our minds, both spoken and unspoken. Our minds and hearts are open to the place of quiet. Embrace it. Let us embrace silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. Blessed be. Will you join us in singing Prayer to Friends, which you should find as an insert in the front of your hymnal, like this. If you don't have one, just holler out, because I have extras here. Everybody good? Awesome. To this day I bring my life, born of hope, born of sand, yearning joy where now there's strife. All I have, all I am. Help me to see what I must see. Help me to be where I must be. Restless faith abide till all are free. Turn my life, turn my hand. You want to do a benediction? You want me to?
Sure, I'll do it.
Okay.
All right. Well, God bless this house, and I send you from my heart to yours with the thought, the feeling, more love, not less.
you'll stay for our coffee hour. But one little practical thing is we often do announcements. The other practical thing is that we turn the microphone on. So would you like to make an announcement, Molly?
Yes, Social Justice Committee is meeting today, right over there, where Kate is pointing, in the minister's study. Hopefully somebody's unlocked it. And, feel free to join us and hear about the things that we're doing in the community. At noon.
Reminder that there's a lovely coffee hour that everyone is welcome to join us for. Other announcements? Kate?
One is, we're gonna be singing next Sunday. If you come at 9:30, Dr. Kit Johnson is going to warm us up and get us into some hymns, easygoing choir. Join us at 9:30. And also next Sunday is a after service meeting, just seeking feedback on our community, growing our community. That's, I think, the title of it. And we really welcome anybody to come with their great ideas and offers to help.
I'm going to strongly second Kate's announcement. It's a little different than just a meeting because it's really going to be a very interactive brainstorm. So the more people that are there, it's like swapping seeds. It's like different ideas percolate other ideas from other people. So if a number of us can be here at noon to hopefully just kind of put our minds and hearts together, I think we can make our community blossom in the springtime. And also, by all means, if you are not able to attend physically, please be here on Zoom, because we'll be wanting your participation as well. And speaking of participation, tomorrow night is our monthly board meeting, and we would love for some people to check out how those meetings go, add your voice, observe. It'll happen through Zoom at 7:30. And if you are interested in attending, you could probably do the best to contact Kirsten, but you can also try to contact me, who will probably then contact Kirsten. But in any event, she'll get the link to people who are interested. So please consider just coming this Monday only, no charge. 7:30.
All right, one more announcement. I expect to be here next Sunday, but just in case I can't, is there anybody else who thinks that they could be the greeter out in the entryway next Sunday? Well, I guess I'll have to be here.
But nice try, Russ. Anyone else have an announcement? No problem. All right, then let's adjourn and let's enjoy a coffee hour together with cake and cookies.